Hey guys, welcome to another day with Zimaleta. In today's video I would like to actually show you how to do basic electrical, and in this particular video we're going to be installing these type of outlets. They're actually child safety type of outlets. As you can see, you can't really poke stuff in there because there's plastic inside. How to use these boxes. They're a little bit more expensive, but I really like them. They have like these tabs, so this means once you actually wire everything up, you could just basically cut the hole in the drywall, insert this thing right through the hole, and once you actually screw it in, these pieces will stand up like that, and they're actually going to be really tight in place in the drywall, which is awesome. This cuts down on on the time for the installation of the drywall, because you don't have to do really any measuring to try to figure out where these boxes are. Most people, they use the ones with the nails, where they have to nail it to the stud. I'm not a fan. I like these here. I'd rather pay a little bit more money, but save a lot more time. Now these here are actually 20 amp type of outlets. That's what they're designed for, and this is kind of like what I like. Let me show you the box. This is actually the box to them. Again, they're more expensive, but I like to use them. So the wire that I'm actually going to be using, it's probably not going to be the favorite by most people, because most people, when they wire up this electrical type of house, they're probably using like 14 gauge type of wire. I'm going to be using 12 gauge, which is this yellow wire right here. That's how you know it's 12 gauge. With orange wire, that's usually about like 10 gauge. But 14 gauge, why is it the favorite? Because you could actually use the holes in the back over here to actually insert them. Like you see like these gold ones here, these gold connectors, they're not really showing up as gold, but these are actually gold. This is for the hot wires. That's where the black wire goes. This white one right here, they're kind of like a silver type of connection. That's where the white wire goes. That's pretty much called a neutral. And then of course we have the ground, where that copper wire is. It goes here. But I will actually show you guys this whole tutorial how to do this thing. It might be kind of long, but it's going to be pretty much like just explaining like this basic electrical. I mean, you can't really learn electrical, just watching a 20-30 minute video. But I will actually try to show you guys the best way and how I actually wire it up to make it a little bit easier for me. Of course, due to the fact that I'm actually using 12 gauge wire, I'm gonna have to use these screws on the side, and that's why I said it's probably not the favorite, because usually you could just basically plug these in, and that's it. Pretty much plug and play, and you could do electrical really fast. Now, what will actually speed up the process is actually having these right here, and they are very awesome. I'm actually going to show you how exactly that works. This will actually clean the wire really quickly. Now, to actually do this electrical type of work, you're gonna need basic tools, and basically you're gonna need like these pliers right here. They are perfect for cutting, the actual wire and stuff. You're gonna need some kind of like knife like this, preferably like a razor blade, so you could actually cut the wire. I'm gonna show you how to do that. Then you're gonna need some kind of like needle nose pliers. This is perfect for actually bending the wire to its spot. You're gonna need like a screwdriver. I prefer to actually have one of these. This works excellent. And least but not last, one of these tools, which is awesome. Or you could have a standard type of electrical stuff. It's just gonna be a little bit more work, but you could do it. I've done it. You could do it as well. So I'm going to show you how to actually bring the wire to the box, wire this up, and then stick it all inside. That way, once you put it up, it's going to be like this. I choose for these plugins to be at the bottom and my wire to be inserted from the top. Why do I like to do that? So if it's at the top, I could just cut the hole, insert it into the drywall. It's a lot easier to insert like this. And then you pull it in, screw in these tabs right here, boom, and then they pop open, and of course they hold to the drywall. So let's begin, guys. I hope you really like it. Guys, let's go ahead and begin. This is kind of like part of my living room. The wall to the right is actually going to be removed, and this space will actually open up to the entire living room space. The place where I'm actually kind of crawling around in right now, this is actually used to be a bedroom with a walk-in closet. Of course, it's no longer so. It's completely different. Previous owners would not even recognize this place. Now, the very first thing I'm doing, actually, I'm drilling holes in the 2x4s. I'm actually using like kind of like a 1/2 inch type of bit, and looks like it's actually working pretty good. It's perfect for inserting wire, so I'm just basically putting the holes everywhere that I actually need to do so. And the area that you see kind of like in the middle here with kind of like blue tape, I need to actually wire the electricity kind of like up the 2x4s, and you know, for actually the TV, because I gotta mount the TV up top. Well, it's actually mounted right now. Then I'm gonna remove it and actually plug it in the back, so you cannot actually see the connections, which is, I think it's kind of like the modern style of doing it. You don't want to see like any type of wires. So I'm trying to make some more holes in case I will need them. Most likely I will not, but I kind of figured, look, once you actually start wiring stuff up, you want to use as many, you know, like stuff as possible, and if you need that hole, you could actually go ahead and use it. So that's why I'm actually drilling that one. So it's perfect. So I'm actually going to do a little bit of a overkill on installing electrical outlets, and the reason I'm doing that, so you don't need like as many surge protectors. Everybody could just plug in. I mean, nowadays everybody with like laptops and iPads and iPods and, you know, like smartphones and stuff, everybody's always constantly like on their phones and stuff like that, and my family is no different. So my kids are constantly plugging in, and I would like to have as many outlets as possible. And of course, with a 12 gauge wire, something you guys might not realize, that electricity actually goes a lot easier through the 12 gauge wire, and it actually is supposed to be a little bit more energy efficient. I'm not sure how much more energy efficient, but it's going to be energy efficient. Now, of course, when I'm going to be using 12 gauge type of wire, I'm actually using 12 gauge type of outlets, as I showed you guys in a video, and they're a little bit more modern style. You know, they're like square and stuff like that, so it's a lot easier. So over here, basically, I'm going to show you how to splice the wire to try to actually plug this in to where it needs to go. And that's how you do it. Just use a razor and basically just peel it open like this, and peel out the paper as well, and just kind of like bend it and just cut it away from yourself. That way you're not actually going to cut yourself, kind of like that. Make sure nobody's standing next to you. And of course, you separate the wires like this, and this is the type of electric wire pliers that I have. I'm not actually sure, they're not really called pliers, but they certainly remove the insulation from the wires really fastly. And by insulation, I mean this rubber portion. And look how easy it just basically cleans the wire, guys. I just want to give you guys a closer look. Look, it's just like no effort whatsoever. I mean, these are kind of like my favorite, and of course I got them at that auction that you guys seen that video. So you never know what you're gonna get, I guess. For me, because I'm doing construction and a lot of stuff, it's really helpful. As you guys could see, the white wire is the old wire that was there, so that's a 14 gauge, and I'm replacing it with 12 gauge. So now I gotta basically just run it through the wall here and out like through my roof. And of course, the reason they're actually kind of wired up over there like on that side is because this is the wire that's going to be like in the wall. And so I just gotta insert this stuff right through and just go all the way back there. And so I gotta pull this wire out right here, this 14 gauge. It's going to be pretty useful for lighting and stuff like that. Now, of course, guys, as I was explaining to you guys, using the 12 gauge type of wire, it is basically, it's going to take a 20 amp type of breaker. No longer you need like a 15 amp breaker. So for 12 gauge, you need a 20 amp breaker. And I'm actually also using 20 amp type of outlets. Plus they look very nice, and they have the child safety type of things, which is helpful. I'd rather spend a little bit more money on those things. At least I'm going to have a little bit safer type of house. Now, like my studio and stuff is also going to get the same type of stuff, but in the garage I'm probably going to use like regular type of outlets, because it doesn't really matter. I'm just running power tools and stuff like that, so that's going to be fine. But as of right now, I'm just trying to take care of my home and just trying to do everything I can to try to make it look nice and things of that nature. And over here, I would like to show you kind of like the connection that I'm actually going to make. Right now, the breaker is actually off, so this is quite safe for me to actually mess with this wire and no chance of getting shocked. But just to do a little bit more of a preventive type of things, I'm only going to connect the ground and the neutral type of wire. That way there's no possibility of somebody going and flipping the breaker and then I'm going to get shocked. So I'm going to actually connect this once I'm done completely wiring up my entire wall, including the TV connections, and then I'm going to come back and finish this connection off, go ahead and flip the breaker. Once I do so, the electricity is going to actually go to the rest of the house. Now, another thing that's going to be really helpful, guys, is in this particular room where the TV is hanging, I'm going to have basically kind of like a fireplace. It's going to be like one of those electric type of fireplaces, so it's best to have the proper type of wire for it. So the 12 gauge is going to work just fine, so it's not going to be tripping the breaker all the time, because the 12 gauge could actually withstand a little bit more electricity than the 14 gauge, because for 14 gauge I heard you could use 20 amp. I'm not a fan. Definitely just put a 15 amp breaker, because I'd rather hear it pop than your house go, like burning up. Because if you're gonna put a 20 amp type of breaker on the 14 gauge type of wire, well, it's not gonna pop, and then chances are, if you got like some kind of space heater and maybe like a blow dryer on the same type of circuit, you're going to like overload the circuit, and then the wire could catch on fire, causing an electrical fire, and your place could just burn down. So over here, guys, I'm doing kind of like a thing where it's not necessary for me to do, but what I'm doing is, this is kind of like staples with kind of like rubber type of insulation or like plastic, and I'm using it to hold the wire down to the stud, so it's not going to be like flapping around over there. So that's what I'm using. I'm gonna, I put one at the top, so I'm gonna put one at the bottom and then one in the middle, and it's going to be pretty good. Like really nobody could like really pull on it and for it to come loose. It's probably not necessary, but I'd rather do like a little overkill than just not do it at all. And of course, now I gotta do this middle section here, and now as you can see, the wire is actually nicely snug against the wall. And now we could go ahead and begin the wiring process. So this wire was already pretty much clean. All I have to do is go ahead and get rid of the insulation on the wires using my pliers. I'm going to give you guys a close-up look, but for now I really can't. I'm basically just gonna try to wire up and explain to you guys exactly kind of like what I'm doing. I'm trying to actually cut the wires down just a little bit more. That way, well, I'm showing you like over here, like in this video, that you could actually use those holes to plug it in. I'm sorry it's kind of small and you can't really see it, but it's basically, there's like these holes for the hots and the neutrals, and you could like normally like insert it in and it's going to be fine, but you cannot actually do it with the 12 gauge. Therefore, you need to actually bend the wire using some needle nose pliers, and that's actually what I'm gonna do it. I like to bend it kind of like to the right, because the screw, once you're actually going to twist it clockwise to try to tighten the screw, it's not going to get the wire loose. If you're going to do it like to the left, and once you're actually gonna screw the screw in, the wire is actually going to become loose, so you don't want to do that. So basically put it to the right side. It's going to actually grip with the wire and going to be really snug type of fit, which is excellent. And that's actually kind of like what I'm doing. So I'm going to show you guys how to connect this without the blue little box, just kind of like as a show and tell. Maybe it's going to be just a little bit more visible. So I chose a side with the gold type of screw, which means that's where the hot goes. And the wire on the left, of course, it's coming from the fuse panel, and I want to actually put that to the top. I'm doing it kind of like a reverse type of look, because I'm actually going to flip the circuit right over, so I gotta put this actually on top. And on the other side, that's where the white goes, and I'm not actually going to hook that one up, so I actually want to go ahead and pull this wire out and go ahead and start hooking this up the normal way to the electric box. So I want to show you like different ways that it's being done, and the way that I like it, because I actually have a pretty good trick for you guys for the neutral type of cable that will save time for you and will make the job a lot more cleaner. So now that I basically pulled this out, it is time for me to take the blue box. This is what I want to use, and as you can see, guys, it is a nice little box here. It has those tabs that move around. You could kind of see they flap. So I gotta bend these tabs in inside. That's actually where you stick the wire through, and it's a really tight fit, so you want to give yourself some space. So there's no wrong way of doing that, so like whatever works for you, just do it. So now through the first tab, I'm actually inserting the wire that's actually on the top, but I'm going to be flipping these things around so that the wire is going to be like on top, not at the bottom. But it's a lot easier for me to actually fish the wire through it like I'm doing it right now. So basically, now that the wire is inside, I gotta cut another piece of wire from the main type of roll. Before I cut it, I'm gonna go ahead and clean this wire up to make it a little bit easier. Then as I cut it, you could see that I'm actually cutting away from myself. It's a lot safer that way, and you're not going to cut yourself. And now I just gotta separate the wires just a little bit to actually clean them up. And as I clean it up, basically it's going to work a lot better, like if I'm going to go ahead and use needle nose pliers. And like I said, guys, bend the wire from kind of like left to the right, kind of like make a little loop so that it could easily go on the screws, and when you tighten it, it's gonna actually have a nice tight fit. But as you can see, guys, these electrical pliers that I have, they are really special. It really makes your job a lot easier, because usually cleaning up the wire, it's the hardest process. Well, now it's not. It's actually basically doing everything else, which is still pretty easy. It's just a lot of work to try to do this. But within 20 minutes, I was able to actually wire up 3 outlets, which is not much, but I'm kind of like doing it on my own little time and trying to make a video for you guys. But normally I go a lot faster if I'm using 14 gauge wire. It's just with the 12 gauge, there's just a little bit more work, plus the wire does not want to really bend that good, so it's a lot more work. So I basically fished it right through the box again, and now it is actually time for me to take the box, the white little outlet box, and go ahead and try to wire it inside. So I'm trying to prepare myself all these wires here so that I could go ahead and stick them on the screws. So now it's time for me to install this 20 amp type of outlet with child safety type of stuff. So I want to make sure that I'm going to connect the gold to the black and the silver type of screws to the white, which is neutral. The black wire is actually a hot. I know it's a little bit confusing if you just been messing with DC wires, because red is usually the hot one. That's the one that has power. But black, which is hot, that's actually where the power coming through. And then you got the neutral and the ground. So basically, now that I have inserted the hot wire, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten it up. And I always like to use the very top screw for the hot wire, for the one that's actually coming in from the panel. And then the bottom screw, that's actually where the wire is actually going to feed every other connection. That's just the way I like to do it. I'm not sure if there's like if there would be like a wrong way of doing it. Well, I know that I'm not doing it right, but I'm not sure like if you could actually do it like any other way. But I kind of like this way here, because it really makes things really clean. I kind of know where all my circuits are and stuff like that. That's why I actually do it that way. So the ones from the electrical panel, I keep them on top, and the ones I'm trying to feed all the other outlets, I feed them from the bottom. So, but I'm pretty sure it's going to work regardless, because it's part of the same circuit, so it doesn't even matter. So that's probably not the wrong way of doing it. It's probably just up to you. But keep in mind, I'm not an electrician. I'm just a homeowner, and if you're gonna be doing this kind of stuff, just make sure that you do some research before doing it, and don't blame me for messing anything up, because homeowners are allowed to actually wire up their own circuits in their house, because you can be your own general contractor, and that's what I'm doing. It is my own house, which is kind of awesome, that you could actually build your own house. You don't have to be a builder, and you could do all these different type of jobs as long as you're the homeowner of that home. So that's what I am. So that's why I'm actually doing this kind of stuff. So definitely you could save a lot of money by doing that. But as you could see now that I installed a neutral, and everything's kind of looking good and nice and tight. And I'm going to actually show you that I'm going to be doing this with a screwdriver, but it takes a lot longer to try to use a screwdriver. It's a lot faster to use like a cordless type of drill. with like a Phillips head on there, so that it's just gonna be like that much quicker. And that's the way I actually like to do things. But I want to show you guys this here, like where the ground wire is going to be, that you can technically put two ground wires like together, maybe like twist them together and use like this one little end and put on the green screw. But I actually, what I do is, like, I twist the ground wire kind of like in half. I put that portion to the screw and I leave myself like a little tab so that I could actually use like one of those yellow wire twisting type of tabs to connect the ground wire together. So that's just kind of like my favorite way of doing it. As you can see, guys, right here, like I'm actually using like a screwdriver to try to actually tighten up everything, but it's a lot more longer. But you could actually see like what I'm doing here, like with basically the ground wire is I'm bending it like in half over here. So the first way I actually connected it, that's the way normal people, you know, like they connect it on the green screw, and you know, that's it. They'll have like a couple wires in there. I think it's too much for one bolt to take. It's a little bit thicker. So I kind of like to just bend this wire in half, like I was telling you guys. That's what I'm doing, and then insert that portion, you know, where the green screw is, which is the neutral, and do it like that. And that's actually what I'm gonna do right now. Is I'm hooking it around over there, and now I gotta tighten this bolt up. So that's actually what I'm doing here. And now I have a piece of ground cable that's just kind of like it's sticking out. So I could connect like another one to it. So that makes things a lot cleaner, I think, a lot nicer, you know. I've seen it done before where, like, instead of using these twisty little things, they just wrap it around the ground wire, and some of them even put like a little connector. But now, guys, it is time for a little bit of a close-up look of me actually installing the ground wire, like a type of a twisty thing. As you could see, guys, I'm actually going to show you a little bit of a close-up what I actually did. That way, if you guys didn't get to see it, you'll actually get to see it, guys. But that's the way the box looks right there with everything in there. And it's a tight fit, you know, for everything, but, you know, you just kind of get some wire out of there and make it a little bit closer. So check it out, guys, right here. These are black ones. They're right on the gold screws. You could actually see it. And this is the white ones right here. They're on the silver screws. And that's how I did my ground cable, guys. You see how, like, the main ground wire that's actually feeding from the electrical panel is actually bent, and I connect a yellow twisty tab to continue the ground connection. I just like that better, guys. If you think this is a pretty cool way of doing it, leave it in the comments below. And if you got another way of doing it, leave that in the comments below as well. Because I've seen these metal type of clips before too. That's what some electricians use. It's probably easier for somebody to just do it like that. You know, who knows? But everybody has, you know, their own way of doing stuff, and you know, everybody has their own take. So there's actually multiple ways of actually doing stuff. So I'm trying to actually remove some of the yellow wire out of there to make it a little bit more room in the box, so I don't have to like bend too many wires. And it is not really easy to do because this stuff is like really hard, because it's so, like, the wires are like you know, 12 gauge, so it's a lot harder to bend them and stuff once you made all the connections. But it's okay, you can, nothing will happen, you know. You just gotta make sure you're pretty careful and just not force type of stuff. Just make sure, just give yourself a little bit, you know, more room. That's actually what I'm doing here by doing so. And then once you actually push this in closer to the screw, like holes and stuff, you could use the screws in the middle to try to go ahead and tighten them up. And you can do it with a screwdriver. It does take kind of like a long time, you know, to try to do it like that, but that's actually what I'm doing. Because it's such a slow process, I decided to kind of speed it up, guys, but you kind of get the point. With screwdrivers, it's just a little bit, you know, longer. But obviously you got to work with what you got. If you don't have a screwdriver, I mean a screw type of gun and stuff, I mean a drill, you could basically just use a screwdriver. You know, it's no problem. It just takes a little bit longer. But the other screwdriver that I was using actually was a really tight fit, so I grabbed another one. This one's a little bit easier to actually twist the stuff. But
But here you go. Let's just go ahead and use a drill and show you how quicker it is with the drill. So I was actually screwing, it was like not completely even tight, you know, all the time. And when the drill, it just takes a couple seconds to basically just take care of everything. And I want to make sure the box is nice and straight, so I'm going to like try to remove it just a little bit and straighten it out and attach it. And that's what I'm doing now. And just be careful, you know, don't over tighten it, because you don't want to really strip the plastic, because that's pretty much what it is. And you see these tabs, guys, that's coming out like from the top and bottom. That's actually how you do it. You attach it like that to the drywall. So here we go, guys. For everything else, I'm just gonna go ahead and speed it up and show you how I'm gonna connect 3 electrical outlets. And I'm actually going to continue and doing a lot more outlets. It's just not really necessary for me to actually make a video of that. You get the basic point. So here we go.